Based on NBC News analysis, COVID-related hospitalizations are up 35% in the past 2 weeks.
An additional 53 million cases of major depressive disorder and 76 million cases of anxiety disorders were caused by COVID.
New videos tonight show how the powerful blast changed this city in an instant.
In East Africa, the air carries two plagues. Locusts, swarms with as many as 50 billion insects. As COVID-19 threatens the people, locusts threaten people's livestock and food.
Yemen is at risk of the worst famine the world has seen in decades, according to the United Nations. The UN warns that 16 million people will go hungry this year, including some 400,000 children who will suffer from what it calls severe acute malnutrition.
Have you had a bad year? There is no doubt that 2020 and 2021 will be remembered as some of the worst years in history, thanks to the COVID-19 pandemic. How could things be worse? Actually, it could be a lot worse. Imagine the sun's disappearance, famines, and plagues. That would then be the year 536, or the Great Mortality. If it's not the worst year in human history, it started the worst period, with a volcanic eruption in Iceland that spread across the northern hemisphere, which blocked the sun for 18 months. This eruption is so massive that there are no direct records of it, only traces of its ash stored in Arctic glaciers and early civilization silver. This is said to be bigger than the Krakatoa explosion, which erupted with a force so loud that it blasted the eardrums of sailors on a passing ship 40 miles away. Europe, the Middle East, and Asia were enveloped with a mysterious and deadly fog. The Byzantine historian Procopius wrote, "A more dread portent took place, for the sun gave forth its light without brightness, and it seemed exceedingly like the sun in eclipse, for the beams it shed were not clear." Roman politician Cassiodrus described the sun as having a bluish tint, and the moon lost its luster, and seasons had gone one off track. It is even said that people couldn't see the shadows of their own bodies. It was literally the Dark Ages. Because of the lack of sunlight, there was a period of extreme coldness. Summers fell to 1.5 to 2.5 degrees Celsius, the coldest decade in the past 2,300 years. Crops all over the world were extremely devastated, which resulted to famine. This caused snow to fall in the summer, drought, and the early outbreak of the Bubonic plague. The outbreak of the Justinian Bubonic plague spread across the Mediterranean. It caused an estimated 15 to 50 million deaths, which contributed to the fall of the Eastern Roman Empire. States fell because of civil unrest and disease. Even the Mongols were speculated to be driven west because of these events. Scandinavians offered hoards of gold in tribute in the hopes to appease the gods to bring back the light. This event in human history may have inspired the idea of Ragnarok in Norse mythology. Another contender for the worst year in human history is 1347, which is when the Black Death bubonic plague peaked. It affected the majority of Eurasia and some areas of North America. It's the deadliest pandemic to date, with over 200 million people killed. The victims experienced fever, vomiting, severe bleeding, and other symptoms before dying. The plague arrived in Europe by the arrival of 12 ships called the Death Ships. People were shocked when they saw that the sailors were dead or dying from this disease. The majority of them believed that it was divine punishment to purge heretics or those whose opinions differ from the established religious dogma. Without advanced technology, bodies piled up high, terrifying those who lived in that era. 1816 is another terrifying year for humans. It is dubbed as the year without summer, when global temperatures fell to 1 degree Celsius. This drop was caused by Mount Tambora, which erupted, causing the sky to be covered by volcanic ash. 11,000 people were killed immediately in the explosion, but after months and years, more would die. Like 536, widespread malnourishment, famine, and death were experienced. In some areas of the world, they experienced extreme flooding, drought, and wildfires. It made people feel like it was truly the end of the world. 1520 in America experienced another disease. Conquistador Panfilo de Narvaez arrived in Mexico to help with the war against the Aztec Empire. A secret stowaway was on his ship, bringing smallpox into the New World. About 90 to 95% of the native population were killed due to the diseases brought into their continent. Empires all over America fell without being given the opportunity to defend themselves. American colonists even weaponized this disease by giving Delaware tribe members linens from their smallpox hospital. This epidemic would be experienced until 1979, when it was finally eradicated. And of course, who could forget the year 1943, one of the lowest points in humanity?
This is the frontier town of Aachen, the first to fall under the full weight of Allied military might. Because the Nazi commander Bilk refused to surrender, the city was bombed and shelled for 12 days before the American First Army took the town.
The world saw the bloodiest battles of World War II, and the Nazis' genocide of the Jews was at its peak. Over 1.3 million Jews were deported and killed, and the Holocaust became deadlier as they perfected their machine of system deportation and genocide. Around 3 million people also died in the Bengal province of British India because of famine and disease. Famines, volcanic eruptions, war, and diseases. That is a lot to process. Humanity has truly seen the darkest periods in history, literally, caused by the forces of nature and mankind. If anything, this shows the strength of humans as we continue to face challenging times. So, is 2020 and 2021 still as bad as they seem? Should we add it to the list? Let us know in the comments section. Thanks for watching. This is Leah Shoko for the Independent Collective.